cliffs, crocodiles, mountains, stabs, and nudity. These things all have something in common. Fool card. So there's some random stuff that I couldn't really figure out how to fit into the other things. So I do want them talked about though, because I feel like they're really important. And especially if you are doing kind of more collage art, like Mary is doing. See, Mary thought I forgot about her. If you're doing more collage art for your Fool card or your tarot deck or however you want to do this, you might want to use some of these symbols. So, number 1, cliffs. The Fool is standing on a cliff, obviously. He's usually on the brink of falling off this cliff. What does the cliff represent? Falling into something new. It literally is jumping off the deep end and into life. So if your Fool is not standing on a cliff, if he's standing on solid ground, then he's probably not going to jump off into new adventures. He literally has to be in a situation where things are going to abruptly change and he doesn't really have a choice. Again, the little dog is trying to save him from this, but we'll see how his success goes. The cliff leads me to the mountains. So the mountains in the Fool card are usually super far in the distance. That is because the Fool does not know how much trouble he is about to get into. He has not yet reached that trouble. He sees those mountains, but those are tomorrow's problem, just like Dizzy is today's problem. So the mountains are far in the background. They are usually more shadows, and sometimes they're not represented by mountains. Sometimes they're represented by a city or some distant thing out there that he has to deal with. Think of this as like those trials and tribulations yet to come. Your Fool is not going to encounter them for quite some time. He has a lot of people to meet and a lot of things to do before he gets to those mountains. But I still think that they're important to have on your Fool card, because if you don't have them, it kind of makes it look like your Fool's journey is going to be really simple. And again, much like having the cliff, which is falling off into new adventures and experiencing something, you want to have those mountains in the background to show that that something that he experiences ain't going to be freaking easy. See, I saved myself from cursing right there. All right. The crocodile. All right. Crocodile is not in all of them. I will say I have seen very few decks with crocodile in it, but obviously the crocodile is there to represent something, and I'm pretty sure it's clear what it represents. So the crocodile not only represents obviously big jaws, big pointy teeth, and danger, and the dangers that your Fool may encounter, but also represents time. Yeah, we getting some Peter Pan vibes off this. So if the Fool is Peter Pan and Captain Hook is not so great, the crocodile can actually be used to the Fool's advantage. There are some cards that represent the Fool kind of standing on the crocodile's head and using it to overcome things. So it's almost like using the lessons from other adversity to overcome your current adversity, shall we say. Something like that. But I have seen the crocodile represented. So if you want to get weird with your tarot card and you want to add something that's super unique, but also very true to the deck, add a crocodile in there. Why not? On to stabs. Now, stabs are going to come up a lot, so I don't want to go into a whole lot of thing with the Fool, but the staff, sometimes depicted as a walking stick, but very often depicted as that stick that is holding the pack that the Fool is carrying. Having the staff over the Fool's shoulder kind of shows that he doesn't really need to walk with it at this point. He's pretty nimble, he's pretty agile, he's young, he's youthful, he's full of energy. That stick will come up later when he is the hermit, and he has to kind of lean on that stick. But the stick that he is leaning on will have something else on it, and that is illumination. For now, what the staff is carrying, what the rod is carrying, is his past. It's carrying the things that he's sure of, the things that he's carried with him from his childhood, and is now, what it's supporting is that part of him. So in the future, it'll have to support him and his new ideas and his old ass self, But for now, it's representative of kind of carrying those old things, carrying your baggage. So there's the staff. And again, staves are pretty typically representative of that fire of knowledge, that fire of creativity. So if your staff is carrying old baggage, you can't really swing it around and do cool shit with it. Anyway, and then nudity. This is also not something that's common in the Fool card, but it does come up, so I figured I would probably mention it. Our Fool can sometimes be naked, and the reason for that is because innocence, vulnerability, newness, nudeness. So keep that in mind when you're creating your deck. If you are creating a deck that is, maybe more adult in content, or you're more comfortable with a deck that has nude figures in it and not as much clothing, you can have a Fool that is naked. And that nudity for the Fool is going to represent those things, as I mentioned. It's going to be about being vulnerable, because again, the Fool is vulnerable. He doesn't know a whole lot. He's new to all of these things. So here you have a character who is new to the world and exposed to the world and doesn't have a whole lot of things to protect himself, except for that little white dog who's trying his damnedest to keep him from falling off that cliff. So yeah, those are some of the other weird things that I thought I would mention that I didn't really have a space for necessarily as I was talking about it. I think this is probably all I'm going to do on the Fool card, because, oh my gosh, this is a lot of information. It's probably going to maybe be broken up in several parts on certain things, but I thought you guys would get a kick out of this as you're learning your Fool card and as you're trying to figure out how to draw your own Fool card. So we'll see what happens from here. And also, Mary, I'm holding you to it. Now you have to create cool Fool cards out of your neat papercraft things. I'm so interested in this. And yeah, hopefully I'll share with you my Fool's journey in creating my own tarot deck as well.